Good evening. It's with a heavy heart that all of us in the Newhouse School have lost our beloved dean, Lorraine Branham, passed away this morning after her brave fight against cancer.
Syracuse University has planned a vigil for tomorrow at 3 p.m. in Hendricks Chapel. We'll gather to celebrate the life of a distinguished journalist and an incredible leader.
Since most of us here are Newhouse students, we want to dedicate our show to the woman who made so many of our dreams flourish, Dean Lorraine Branham.
Coming up next on Citrus TV News, we'll be taking a look at the community grid and viaduct replacement options for Interstate I-81 in the second and third parts of the I-81 Crossroads.
And today, Syracuse University is celebrating Teal Tuesday. Find out what students and faculty on campus are doing to combat sexual assault.
And a vigil for rapper Nipsey Hussle turned violent last night in LA. We'll have the details up next. Citrus TV News starts right now.
This is Citrus TV News live at 6, your campus news leader.
The mile-and-a-half elevated section of I-81 in Syracuse carries nearly 100,000 vehicles each day. But for the past 2 years, it's been deemed structurally deficient and functionally obsolete.
Local and state officials, residents, and commuters have all had spirited debates on how to fix Syracuse's I-81 problem. In recent months, two alternatives to the current viaduct have made their way to the forefront. And tonight, we dive into the details. Good evening, I'm Amber McElrath.
And I'm Anna Azallion. We start with reporter Ricky Sayer in Citrus TV's exclusive series, I-81 Crossroads.
In the second part of our I-81 Crossroads series, I took a look at the community grid option that would reroute I-81 traffic onto I-481, taking it out of the city center. Community leaders and homeowners in Syracuse say the grid won't right the wrongs of 50 years ago, but the option could protect their living conditions. Today, some residents are quite passionate about the issue.
I need 2 minutes of your time to save my city and my neighborhood and my kids' lungs.
Their proposal: demolish the current viaduct and replace it with a boulevard that can handle large amounts of traffic and be fully integrated with the street grid.
It's the most efficient pattern you can have to move people around a city.
Syracuse Common Councilor Joe Driscoll says the boulevard could be lined with new developments like apartments and businesses. Some of that housing could be available for low-income residents.
I think if we can get university students willing to walk down from the hill to downtown and kind of occupy those spaces and those corridors, we could potentially create communities that were not so segregated, not so divided.
We're not telling people that they should be for the community grid. We're educating them about the variety of options, but when you do that, people tend to come around to saying that they think the community grid with protections is the best option and outcome.
The grid has seen less support from residents who live outside of the city.
The community grid, we think, feels like it's going to create gridlock in our communities and also in the city of Syracuse.
If you go to a community grid, you're going to move the traffic that's now up above the pedestrians down to pedestrian level.
Right now, the Department of Transportation says 12% of drivers use I-81 to pass through the city. Supporters say that with the community grid, that through traffic will use the newly designated I-81 around the city.
Drivers will go to the path of least resistance.
Supporters think that traffic will be spread out enough to not cause a lot of congestion on city streets.
Now, we can't say that the community grid won't have some traffic logjams, but you will have choices not to stand in that one line to get.
And you know, the projections from DOT that the changes to travel times would be 3 to 5 minutes makes you feel that if we could improve the walkability, the social fabric, and only have a 3-minute addition to our travel times, then that seems worth it.
But the debate continues on as city residents are still split on the issue.
There's some people who live in the south sides of the city that want to keep 81 right where it is so they can go to the farmer's market and a baseball game in the 10 to 12 minutes that they normally do.
The lives of people who live right there are in the balance because of what people perceive as convenience. And I don't think that's how we should be dealing with this type of issue.
Now, Ricky, you talked to a lot of people over the past couple weeks about the community grid option. What kind of price tag are they talking about for this?
Yeah, we're talking about a number of about $1.3 billion, and it's worth mentioning that the grid does have the support of Syracuse Mayor Ben Walsh.
Thanks, Ricky. So now turning to Peyton, you've been covering the proposed viaduct replacement plan. How much would that cost?
So it'd be just a little bit more than the community grid. It'd be $1.7 billion, so only $400,000. I mean, it's still a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's not nearly as much as the tunnel's going to cost at over $3 billion.
All right, so what are proponents of the plan saying?
Now, proponents really think the viaduct should be rebuilt for two main reasons. They are safety and supporting local business. Now, there are about 25 businesses on the west side of Syracuse that rely on the viaduct every day to help ship and access transportation, and that's really key for the local community.
All right.
With all that said, now let's take a look at the people and places that support rebuilding the current viaduct. It's been 50 years since I-81 opened in downtown Syracuse, and some think that sticking with the status quo is Central New York's best option. Increased shipping costs, traffic, and a safer city for pedestrians. That's why some Central New Yorkers are demanding workers to rebuild the viaduct. The vice chairman of the New York Trucking Association says downtown city streets are no place for large trucks.
Now we're going to get trucks down on the street interacting with cars, which really is not the best place for them to be. And I think in the long run, that's going to slow them down even more.
Increased travel times, longer shipping routes, and higher costs are major concerns for Irwin. And he's not alone. About 25 other trucking businesses just west of the city will also be affected. He explained the viaduct is a direct route to the center of the city. Using it to go from the intersection of I-81 with I-481 to the junction of I-81 and I-690 is about 3.5 miles long and takes about 3 minutes and 45 seconds to drive. If the community grid is chosen, Irwin says this would force traffic to take I-481 north and I-690 west to get to the same point in the city. This route totals 11.7 miles and takes about 8 minutes longer. Electronic logs closely monitor how long truckers travel on the road. 8 minutes may not seem like much at first, but it could affect customers in the long run.
And drivers are limited to how many hours they can drive a day. So any time we add to that can make the difference between a driver being able to complete his run or not being able to complete his.
Local developers say if the city builds a new viaduct, it will be larger than the one that currently stands, 16 feet higher to be exact.
It would be under new standards of the Federal Highway Administration, which require the highway to be much wider and to be much straighter.
A new viaduct would cost $1.7 billion, but Irwin says it is a solid investment that could potentially connect the city more.
I think they should really push with the viaduct to make for better access underneath 81. Let's get some bike lanes under there and walkways under there. You know, they could be well lit. It's easier to walk under a bridge than it is to cross traffic.
If the viaduct is chosen, it will shut down sections of the highway between Colvin Street and Spencer Street. Still no word on when a final decision will be made. Peyton Smith, CitrusTV News. If the viaduct is chosen, construction will shut down the highway between Colvin Street and between South State Street and Spencer Street. Still no word on when a final decision will be made. Peyton Smith, CitrusTV News.
Thanks, Peyton. The fourth and fifth parts of I-81 Crossroads will be on tomorrow's News Live at 6. We'll be taking an in-depth look at the hybrid tunnel proposal.
SU Sexual Assault Awareness Month is underway as of yesterday. In honor of the month, the campus community is encouraged to wear teal, the national color of sexual assault awareness. The Hall of Languages building will also be lit teal. University offices and departments are also registering in the Go Teal decoration contest. Several other events will be held throughout the month. The Syracuse Mets are hosting a new fundraising event tonight at Embassy Suites Destiny USA. From now until 8 p.m., fans who purchase tickets to the event will be eating dinner with the team. There will also be a silent auction with autographed items and other memorabilia. The dinner and silent auction will be benefiting the Challenger Baseball League, RBI Baseball League, and District 8 Little League. Fans will be randomly seated with at least one player or coach from the Syracuse Mets. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to be seated with Tim Tebow. And
New York is about to become the latest state to raise the age to buy cigarettes and e-cigarettes. The state Senate and Assembly have passed a bill that will increase the age from 18 to 21. New York City has already raised the age to 21, along with 7 other states. Since Governor Andrew Cuomo signs the bill, it will take effect 4 months later. And Governor Andrew Cuomo is cutting $50,000 in funding for the Special Olympics, while adding $10 million for after-school programs. New York State lawmakers had originally planned on cutting all Special Olympics funding before following President Trump and walking that back. The funding for after-school programs will allow an additional 6,000 at-risk children to stay out of communities with high gang activity.
And Governor Cuomo is up in arms over a Wall Street Journal op-ed written by Florida Senator Rick Scott. Scott's piece, titled "Why New Yorkers Flee for Florida," criticized New York's fiscal policies and supported the GOP tax bill. Cuomo responded by pointing out Florida's $46 million in federal aid. New York, meanwhile, leads the nation among states that send revenue to the government. The New York State budget, set at $175 billion, passed yesterday.
Now, Amber, I looked at my phone this morning and it said the high was going to be about 50 degrees, but when I got outside, it really didn't feel like that.
I know, we're already into April and it's still cold in Syracuse. I feel like I shouldn't be surprised. Weather anchor Anthony Dabbundo joins us in studio. Anthony, would you bet on warmer weather coming our way?
I wouldn't necessarily bet on warmer weather, but I would bet on wind. Now, the sun was out for a moment this morning, but it was pretty short-lived. By about noon, like Anna said, the clouds came around, the wind picked up a little bit, and 50 degrees is right around today's average, and today's high was 51. We're currently sitting that as we speak right now, but 51 degrees this time of year isn't as cold as people usually think. The average temperature is around 45, 46, so not too terrible. But as we get into tonight, the temperatures will get much lower, 37 degrees, cloudy. The winds will start to pick up and shift in the morning as we get into tomorrow's excessive wind, and I'll have more on tomorrow's incoming wind and your full weather forecast coming up later in the show.
Thanks, Anthony. Coming up on News Live at 6, another woman is speaking out against Joe Biden for unwanted touching. We'll have the details up next.
And a vigil turned violent last night in LA that was celebrating the life of Nipsey Hussle. All that and more after the break.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
If you see news happening on campus, in Syracuse, or across the nation, call the CitrusTV Newsroom, 315-443-1177, or tweet at CitrusTV News, your campus news leader.
Welcome back to Citrus TV News. Former Vice President Joe Biden is under scrutiny. A second woman has accused him of unwanted touching. She said Biden, quote, put his hand around my neck and pulled me in to rub noses with me, end quote. Amy Lapos isn't the first woman to come out against the former VP.
Former Nevada State Representative Lucy Flores says Biden came up to her from behind and kissed her on the back of the head. Biden says he never felt he acted in an inappropriate manner and he never intended to make anyone feel uncomfortable.
It is unknown whether or not either woman will press charges.
I cannot watch a woman be plastered and crucified for something that I experienced as well. I believe her.
And a vigil last night in Los Angeles for rapper Nipsey Hussle left 19 people injured when a stampede broke out. Mourners were paying tribute to Hussle outside his store in Crenshaw.
Hussle was shot on Sunday just outside the same store. The shooter is now in LAPD custody. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti expressed his own sorrow for Hussle's death today.
Garcetti also said that, quote, "The worst way to pay back Nipsey's violent death is with more violence."
And I would say to anybody out there, too, the absolute worst way to pay back Nipsey's loss, somebody we lost at the hands of violence, is with more violence. And we know that there is much more love than hate, much more love than violence out there. And we intend to give space for people to grieve.
And the latest from Kashmir, where 3 Pakistani soldiers were killed today in the continuing tensions between India and Pakistan.
Pakistani military officials said that another soldier was wounded in Tuesday's skirmish. The attack follows a suicide bombing in the Indian-controlled part of Kashmir that killed 40 soldiers.
Both nations claim Kashmir as part of their territory. The tensions over the region date back to the 1940s, but killings escalated last year.
And coming up, another look at your weather. Anthony?
Coming up after the break, I'll explain the cause of tomorrow's wind and why not to expect much sun in the coming days. Stay with us.
You said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
From the CitrusTV Weather Center, this is SU's most accurate weather forecast.
Welcome back, and here are some of the forecasted temperatures for tomorrow. Most of upper central New York in the mid to high 40s, 46 in Rome, 47 in Syracuse, 47 up in Fulton, and out west 47 in Rochester. Across the southern tier you can expect mid to low 50s for the temperature, but the story of tomorrow isn't the temperatures, it's the wind. As we get into tomorrow's forecast, in the morning, 10-mile-an-hour winds, not too bad, 15 as we get towards 10 a.m. But what happens is there's a low-pressure system up in Canada, you get a high-pressure system in the Ohio Valley. It creates kind of a wind tunnel effect, and that amplifies the wind. So you're getting 24, 25, up to 30-mile-per-hour winds in the afternoon tomorrow. I highly recommend a windbreaker because we could see gusts as high as 40 miles per hour. And as we get into our 5-day forecast, not a whole lot of sun on your screen here. 47 and windy tomorrow, 44 and mostly cloudy. You might see a little bit of sun on Thursday morning. And then as we get into Friday, a complete washout. Sorry to ruin your Friday plans, but 46 and mostly rain. And then as we get back into Saturday, still no sun, high of 59. It will feel a little bit warmer, so maybe be able to break out the shorts on Sunday when it gets to 65 degrees. But again, there's a chance of an afternoon shower and a potential wintry mixing in on Sunday. So, it is April. We have reached the month of April. Yet here in central New York and in Syracuse, we are still dealing with the potential for snow. But as we get into next week, the middle of April, that high temperatures could be as high as 60, and we might even see high 60s, which is well above average for this time of the year. So, you know, a lot of clouds this week, but we could see some more sun and the potential for a pattern break coming up in the future. That's all for you guys. Back to Anna and Amber.
Thanks, Anthony. Sad to hear that we're not seeing any sun this week. Now, here's a look at what's trending. Marvel almost broke the internet today when tickets and a new trailer for Avengers Endgame were released. Fans crashed movie theater AMC's website and app in a rush to buy tickets. Used on Fandango, Regal, and Atom tickets also experienced long wait times. Endgame comes out April 26th and is the conclusion of the Avengers franchise. Last year's Avengers Infinity War made more than $2 billion.
And streaming service Netflix is once again raising prices. U.S. customers will see a $1 or $2 increase on their next bill. Netflix says the increase will allow it to add more television shows and movies. This comes after Netflix invested $8 billion in original programming last year.
Coming up, Tebow Mania hits Central New York, Monsters move SU men's lacrosse, and the men's team plays for a trophy.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
And now, your Citrus TV Sports Report.
Welcome back to Citrus TV News Live at 6. I'm Jackson Jello with sports. SU hits the road tonight on I-90 to Geneva to take on Hobart. Some hardware is on the line for Syracuse lacrosse in this game. When the Orange and Hobart face off, the squads play for the Krause-Simmons Trophy. And with that trophy, the 13th ranked Orange has won each of the 5 past matchups between the two schools. And if you go further back than that, well, the outlook doesn't get much better for Hobart. SU has won 30 of the last 33 meetings between the two programs. The schools have been playing since 1916, and this year they have to add a new nameplate to the bottom in order to fit in this year's winner onto the trophy. Face-off is set for tonight at 7 p.m. And the latest tennis rankings are out, and the Orange are on the move. Syracuse senior All-American Gabby Knutson jumped a whopping 20 spots in singles, all the way up to number 20 in the nation, joining teammate Miranda Ramirez, who also jumped up a couple spots. She jumped 8 spots to number 82. The team as a whole sits at number 30 in the nation, according to the ITA rankings. Tomorrow, the third-ranked Syracuse women's lacrosse team hosts number 21 Virginia Tech. The Orange comes in riding a 7-game win streak. Face-off is set for 4 p.m. at Christian Brothers Academy. The game is not at the Dome due to a Monster Jam setup at the Carrier Dome this week, with that event coming up. Tim Tebow may not be sure what continent he'll marry his Miss Universe fiancée, but this week he will for sure be in Central New York. Tim Tebow, more specifically, will be facing opening day with the Syracuse Mets, and today he took some batting practice at MBT Bank Stadium. Tebow posted on social media the other day about some potential snow looming and the snow that had come to Syracuse. But lucky for him and any Central New Yorkers, the Mets will be giving out trapper hats for those in attendance at opening day on Thursday. First pitch is set for 2:05. And the Yankees take the diamond tonight in the Bronx against Detroit, but the Bronx Bombers are missing some key weaponry in the arsenal. With Miguel Andujar's injury yesterday, adding him to the 10-day DL, make it 6 significant Yanks on the IL. Last year's rookie sensation joins New York centerpieces Aaron Hicks, CC Sabathia, Didi Gregorius, Giancarlo Stanton, Dellin Betances, and Luis Severino. I'm out of breath. But tonight, the Yanks will have to make do with what they have. They have Masahiro Tanaka on the mound, and Tanaka is coming off a quality outing on opening day with New York. He could get the Yankees its first win streak of the season. As for the Mets, this New York team is feeling the heat in South Beach. New York is 3-1 on the season and takes on the Marlins in Game 2 of a 3-game set. The Mets have dominated early with the 3rd best run differential in the National League.
Thanks, Jackson. So I know Tim Tebow is joining the Syracuse Mets. Can you talk a little bit about what he needs to do and why everyone's looking forward to his performance on the Mets?
Well, everyone's excited about him because he's Tim Tebow. You just said the name. He's got millions of followers on social media. He's about to get married to Miss Universe coming up. But what he needs to do on the baseball diamond is take care of business, get out there every day, be a good teammate to the guys around him. Look, he's kind of getting up there in age, so he really needs to just produce right away.
Yeah, and we'll also stay tuned to see what continent he's getting married on.
I know, exactly. I'm very interested to see this because he's marrying Miss Universe, so that's the whole universe. This isn't just Miss America, this is Miss Universe. So what continent? I say he does a 3-continent marriage. He starts in the U.S., right? He's from Florida, started at home, then hops to a new continent, and then finishes with a honeymoon in a 3rd one.
All right, thanks, Jackson, for that insight, and we'll be right back.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Before we go tonight, we honor the life of one of Syracuse University's most esteemed academic leaders. Lorraine Branham, Dean of the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications since 2008, passed away today after a courageous and hard-fought battle with cancer.
Dean Branham was a working journalist for 25 years, holding positions at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and the Baltimore Sun. She was also director of the School of Journalism at the University of Texas at Austin before coming to Newhouse.
She was the first ever female or person of color to serve as Newhouse's dean, and under her leadership, the school flourished. Dean Branham spearheaded a nearly $20 million fundraising campaign for the renovation of Newhouse II. She created the Newhouse Studio and Innovation Center and Center for Digital Media Entrepreneurship.
Dean Branham will be remembered as an icon in the media industry, a mentor, an educator, an inspiration, and a friend. We thank her and admire her for all she's done for the students of Syracuse University.